Okay, welcome along to this evening's Fans Forum. Thanks for joining us. We've closed the bar now for an hour, we'll reopen afterwards. Okay, what we're going to do, we'll go through the format in a moment. Thanks also if you're watching on the live stream. You can send questions in over the course of the next hour using the hashtag QPR Fans Forum. In the meantime, let's bring in our guest, starting with Director of Football, Les Ferdinand. Manager Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink. And CEO Lee Hoos. Okay, we'll get underway very shortly. Just in terms of the format, what we're going to do, we've done it previously, it's tended to work out quite well. We've gone through questions that you guys have already sent in and we've put them into particular areas. We'll go through those. Then after that, then we'll open questions to the floor. So if you want to expand on particular areas, you're more than welcome to do so. If you have questions completely unrelated, by all means, put your hand up. Ian has got the microphone. Please do wait for the microphone. While we can hear you here, those watching on the stream won't be able to hear you until you have the microphone. So please do wait for the microphone to reach you before you do ask a question. At the end, we'll be having a raffle. There's a £100 Superstore voucher. We've also got a signed shirt as well. In terms of the people in the room, a lot of people ask who gets invited, etc. So we'll just explain that as well. 50% of you here are our top loyalty points holders. 20% are randomly selected season ticket holders. 10% are randomly selected members. 5% are hospitality members. And 15% are from fan sites and fans groups. So there will be familiar faces. There will also be people that perhaps you haven't seen as much before at these events. Okay, so before we get underway, Jimmy, you've been in charge for I think 18 or 19 games now. Are you happy with the progress you've made?
Yeah, we are improving. The boys are working hard. Very happy with their application. And we are getting to a better shape and a better organization, and we are seeing more smiles. So I mean, of the players, and that's important. That's important. You want to you want the training ground to be a happy place. You know, where players want to come and work and sweat and moan a bit, but laugh after they have moaned. So, yeah, we are improving.
In terms of your 18 league games in charge, from the first 6 games you picked up 4 points, the second 6 games you picked up 9 points, and the third set of 6 games you picked up 11 points. So that is very steady progress.
I didn't want to go into numbers, but now that you have started, look, I'm not looking really at that. I'm looking more at the team. Yes, obviously points are important, but I'm looking what the team is doing together. You know, are we gelling? Are we harder to beat, to be beaten? Are we organized? Are we seeing the work that we are doing on the training pitch into games? And that's how I look at it. And are we getting more comfortable in games? You know, and I must say we are improving. You know, we are improving, and we have still got a way to go. You know, we want to keep on improving and we want to keep on getting better. It does help when you win matches and those points are coming on board. That's what you're doing for, and that's the most important thing. But you know, you have to have a good work ethic and a good foundation, and we are working at that foundation.
And Les, I know Lee Hoos had you on a strict diet in the lead up to this Fans Forum in case of any illness, but you're full of health.
Yeah, I'm full of health this time around.
Okay.
Apologies for last time, but they took me to Malaysia and the food didn't agree with me, so they left me there.
Okay.
Nothing to do with a helicopter.
we'll get underway. In terms of the particular areas that seem to be brought up on a regular basis, were specific questions about the playing personnel, questions about the new stadium, questions about the season tickets, targets for next season in the long term, and also financial fair play. So firstly, we'll start with a question from Billy Rice. And this, I suppose, is a question between Les and Jimmy. What turnover of players do you expect in the summer in terms of transfers?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go on.
I mean, obviously, last year at the start of the season, there was a load of players that came to the end of their contracts. They were on big contracts. We couldn't afford to keep them. So there was a big turnaround in personnel going out. And we had to try and bring personnel in that could fit within the budget of what we had. Hence, bringing in sort of like free transfers, loan players, and trying to lower the wage bill at the football club, just to fall in line with where we was. I think in the Premier League, we were in the top half of payers in that division. And unfortunately, we couldn't sustain that. And it's about sustainability for the football club. So we had to scale around. And I think at the end of any one season, Jimmy will answer this better than me because he's been a manager. You want to replenish your squad with maybe 2, 3, 4 players maximum. We were replenishing the squad with 13 different players, and when you do that, you're not going to get every one of those players right. But they had to try and fit in with the budget of what we had. This time round, some of those players will go because it was only a 1-year loan, or some of them were on 1-year contracts, and it's about myself and Jimmy sitting down, and we have been sitting down all through since I've come through the door, trying to look at how we replenish that squad. I wouldn't want to bring in another 10 players. Jimmy might have a different view.
Jimmy, what is your view?
Look, we want to improve. We want to improve the squad, but it has to be sustainable. But we want to be as competitive as possible, and we have to be creative. I don't know. I can't tell you how many players we're gonna bring in, or how many we can bring in. But we're gonna try to make the team as strong as possible. Without putting the club into trouble. That's what we need to do, and that's what we're going to do. I cannot tell you if it's going to be 1, 2, 3, or 10. But once again, it's going to be a team that is going to be as strong as possible with the sources that we have. And be true to you guys, but also to us.
Okay. In terms of players out, they're currently out on loan. Can we know more about the reasoning behind the loaning out of J. Emmanuel Thomas and Yoon Suk Young?
J. Emmanuel Thomas, very, very clear, didn't fit in my plans. And we had to loan him out to get him football, but also as much money for the club back. Simple as possible. Young is a different scenario, different case. We don't know if he will get a work permit for next year. So.
Okay. Andrew Melhuish, has there or will there be any communication with players like Junior Hoilett and Ali Fowlin about their contracts before the end of the season with regards to next season?
I think it's a conversation, obviously Junior in recent months under Jimmy has improved. I mean, he's in his last 3 months of his contract, and he's got to put himself in the shop window. We're grateful for that because now he's performing to how we know he can perform. If he sustains that, it's a conversation for Jimmy and myself, and the same with Ali as well. I mean, at the start of the season, we didn't think Ali was going to be able to play the amount of games that he's played, but he's a quality player, and he's shown his quality at times when he's played in the side. So it's a conversation to have. And again, these guys are on contracts that we need to speak to, and if they fall in line with the budget we've got in here at the club, then maybe discussions can be had.
And how will that work in terms of between the two of you? Will it be a case of you, Les, speaking to the manager and saying, do you want to keep Junior Hoilett, and then you have the conversation to see if you can make that happen?
Yeah, well, you know, that's first and foremost. Jimmy has to decide whether he wants these players in the side, and then it's negotiations from there on in. I have to speak to the owners of the football club. I have to speak to the finance director of this football club and see if we've got the money for what a Junior Hoilett or an Ali Fowling will want going forward.
Okay, a question from Ron Hill to the manager. We played Birmingham at Loftus Road. I consider this to be one of our best performances of the season. Man to man, every player played well. Then we travelled to MK Dons, had a different lineup. My question is why? Who is picking this team? Is it Les Ferdinand or Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink?
Before you answer that, let me jump in. Let me show everyone here in this room and who's ever watching. Right, I've come through the door and I've had 3 managers, 4 managers in fact, since I've been here. And I have never ever picked a side, and I'm not here to pick the side. I'm here to work with the manager to try and get the best players that we possibly can for this football club. And I'll say it again, to fit within the budget of what we got at the football club. But it's not my job to pick the team for the manager. I never would try to do that.
That's the last time I say that to your face.
Good.
And in terms of the question with regards to the changes in personnel, we played Birmingham, played very well, and then there were 3 changes for the game at MK Dons.
The 3 changes were Poulter, Matty Phillips and Junior Hoilett. Junior Hoilett became dad for the first time and didn't train, was not at the training ground from Thursday until Saturday. So was not in a condition to play. Had the girlfriend had a very long and difficult delivery. All good with the baby though, and mother. And father. So we had a choice to make. Are we going to play him without training for 3 days, or are we not? And I choose the second. Poulter was ill the week and had still fever, and the same with Matty Phillips. So those were decisions that were taken out of my hand, and I had to do the best thing for them. So that's why.
Okay. A question from Steve Russell. I'd like to ask for an update on Jack Robinson.
Jack is a very fragile point. Actually, we got him almost where he could play matches. Then he had a setback where he couldn't train 3 weeks because he had pain in his calf. He's had a second injection in his calf to take a cyst away. He trained today again with the group. Hopefully he can have a good week training this week. If he sustains this week, he can play on Monday in the under-21s. If he comes through that, then he will be ready for selection for the next match. Fingers crossed. Look, he's had a very difficult injury, a career-threatening injury. It's very normal that he gets little setbacks. We just need to now nurture him through and getting him strong too, so that he can play matches. But he is someone who is definitely in our plans, definitely in my plans for the future for this club.
Okay, and the second part of that question from Steve. Is there a case for a revamped under-21s league, or even a second one that would involve more of our youngsters' squad players?
Directed at me.
Yeah, we'll take it to you, Les.
I'm not in favour of the under-21 league. I don't think it's competitive enough. 9 times out of 10 you go to a club and you get players come through the 21 system, and the manager needs to send them out on loan to get the relevant experience they need at men's level. Because they're playing against similarly inexperienced players. My thought process on it is you come into a club at perhaps under 8s, you go under 10s, under 12s, under 14s, under 6s, playing against the same guys. You get to 21, you're still playing against the same guys. There's no competitive edge. So unless you go out on loan, you ain't gonna get the experience that you need to come and play in the first team, and most managers won't trust you. Hence why, you know, a lot of our boys are out on loan. I know we get questions about why is Darnell out on loan. I know he played a couple of games for us at the back end of last season. He wasn't ready to play, but we had to because we had no one else to play. So in terms of creating another 21 league, no, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather send them out on loans to get the valuable experience they need to be competitive for our guys in the first team.
Okay, a couple more football-related questions from Adios 1967. Perhaps aptly named, hopefully not. An update on Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's rolling contract from Adios 1967. So, Les, I'll put that question to you initially. Can you just explain how the rolling contract works? I think from QPR fans' point of view, they think a rolling contract, we haven't got much protection. The manager continues to do well, we could lose him.
Yeah, I think there's a misunderstanding with contracts in this country in the way that they work. I mean, 99% of contracts, and I think League will back me up on this, is based around a 1-year contract. Even if a manager's got a 3-year contract, the usual terms of that contract is after a year they'll pay over a year's severance pay, or they'll pay someone who comes in and says, right, we'll pay whatever that yearly sum is. 9 times out of 10, the 3 years, a manager only gets 1 year of that money if he leaves the football club. Vice versa, if someone's going to pay for him, it's usually in his contract that it's only a year that they pay for. So that was our thought process behind the rolling contract.
And Jimmy, from your point of view, it's a situation that works and you're happy with?
Still rolling.
Okay, moving on. Another question, and again, this will bring Lee in shortly, but then this falls between the two of you. The under-18s, their current run of results hasn't been great. Is that a cause for concern? We talk about the club wanting to bring younger players through, and fans will be looking at the results and thinking, is there quality there to come through?
The honest truth of that is that's a position at the club that needs to be strengthened, not just the under-18s, but the whole of the academy. And we're taking steps to make sure that happens. We have a misconception in this country as well about under-18s football, under-16s football, and our teams have to win all the time. It ain't about teams winning at under-18 level. I saw Norwich get relegated from the Premier League a couple of seasons ago, but their under-21s won the Youth Cup. Who was bothered about that? Ask the Norwich directors, were they bothered about the fact that they're under 18s or under 21s won the Youth Cup? No, it's about producing players coming into your first team, and we haven't done that for a long time. I ain't overly fussed about our under 18s losing, as long as we can produce players that come out. And you might only produce one player, you might produce 2. I've got a great programme at home. When I gone through my coaching badges, there was a team that played, an Arsenal team that played Brentford. And Brentford beat them in the FA Youth Cup. And I looked at the players that played for Arsenal, and every single one of those players went on to play for the Arsenal team or had professional careers. When you looked at the Brentford side to date, not one of them was playing football today. So it just goes to show that, we get caught up with this, you've got to win. And of course, at first team level, that's what it's all about, winning. But when you're coming up through this system, it's about can you produce players. It ain't about just the team winning. Of course, it's nice, and you want to win. You play football to win, but it ain't always the be-all and end-all. And
Jimmy, how keen are you to be able to bring those younger players through if and when they are good enough to be part of your first team plans?
I'm very excited for that, and that's the normal way in Holland, that you get that coming through the ranks, and I think it's gonna be vital for QPR to be able to produce those players, for QPR in the future.
Okay. Lee, new stadium questions, you're up. From John Layson, where do we stand as there seems to be no cooperation or talking going on between QPR and Car Giant as the stadium at Old Oak appears dead? What can you tell us?
I'm going to tell you something that probably eliminates pretty much every question after this about a new stadium. First of all, very encouraged by what's happening with the stadium. When I came here, I said, "Yeah, stadium. That's very long term. First priority is, and the one that's more realistic is the training ground. But the training ground is going well. I'm sure we'll come on to that. But I'm very, very encouraged by what's going on with the stadium. Now we've had a mayoral election coming up in May. I know there's more than 2 candidates, but the 2 principal candidates that are involved in there have both come out and said, "Yep, we fully support QPR in their bid to find a stadium in West London." I mean, Sadiq Khan, was just here on Friday night, so he's the most recent. Mr. Goldsmith we saw a couple of months ago, but it came. Both of them really impressed by what we do in the community and say, "Yeah, we can understand why you need a new stadium." I think Sadiq Khan even said you're kind of a victim of your own success in terms of getting people here and trying to get people in and grow the size of the club, but likes what we're doing. Other than the fact that Andy Sinton got a bit too competitive on Friday night, I think it went really, really well. Told you should have let him win. So that, as far as that goes, boom, got that one. So there'll be the landscape isn't quite completed what we need. Now I know that the Car Giant sent out a letter and some people have published it, but it takes me absolutely nowhere to get into a war of words with Car Giant. Not least of all because I quite respect Jeff Warren and what he's done. I think he's he's a guy who's taken obstacles, cleared them out of his way, and built a good business, and I quite like that. However, the reality of it is, that's a big piece of land out there. We don't own all of it. He doesn't own all of it. There's a fair amount of land out there. He does own more than we do. We both have ideas about what we can do. And if I'm not a property developer, I'm not interested in developing property, save to the extent that it helps us get a new stadium. That's the only interest I have in property. I'm not interested in trying to make a ton of money out of it. Just not it. It's about getting a new stadium to secure this club's survival. And I think we can do something there. I think there's something very important there. And if one thing I have learned, because I have, even though I'm not a property developer, I've had to learn about it anyway, is that the person who owns the land doesn't always have the say in what actually happens. He alone. You've got a lot of interested parties in this. Hammersmith and Fulham Council, the OPDC, the GLA, and as I said, the mayor, who we don't even know who the next mayor is going to be. I think coming in the door, if this would have been at the beginning of a mayor's term, there would have been a way I would have handled it. But coming in when really there's an outgoing mayor and there's absolutely positively going to be a new mayor, I don't know how the landscape is going to change with those organizations that I just mentioned before. So, first thing I need to do is wait to see what happens in May. In an ideal world, the OPDC consultation period wouldn't happen until after that point, but unfortunately that ends on the 31st of March. So if anybody hasn't seen it, please, I urge everyone to respond to that OPDC consultation period, because we need to keep ourselves in front of that organization's mind, all right? We're not going to go away. We need to be up there. And when I say things like, yes, Car Giant put through a master plan that included things like a museum. That's one of the interesting things. One of their criticisms was, we're showing a stadium on land that part of it's not even ours, but they put a science museum on land that's not even theirs. That's the beauty of English property law and the whole planning application. People putting in planning applications and plans and things that on land that doesn't even belong to them. Which brings me to Warren Farm, which is exactly what's happened there, with the local residents putting across an application for a public footpath across the middle of our training ground. Someone, I think, was going to ask me about, could I put a time frame on when that would be ready? The answer is no, I can't, because that was originally scheduled to be heard this month, that application, and it's already slipped. I do feel confident enough, though, that I think we had tried to. We've already spoken to a couple of people about building process up there. I thought the best place to start would probably be some QPR fans who had building contracts. So that was a starting point. Looking at what we can do up there. We have a decision to make at some point in regards to what the application process is for that particular area. Do we wait until everything's run the course, and then the time frame for challenging that decision is passed, or do we just kind of barrel ahead without that happening? I think probably the safest bet is to get everything ready anyway. And I go back to what I said when I first came, and the last time we had a meeting here. I am not looking, and I'm not going to go to the owners to say, can you write out a big check, please, so we can do the training ground. I've already started looking at finance options. There's some viable, I think, viable packages out there that serve the club well. What's good that it stacks up in that I think for not a whole lot more money in paying off, say a bond or something like that with a training ground, is not massively more than what we're paying in rent right now. So I think that stacks up. Financiers look at that and say, yeah, it's not a bad business case. There's things probably a bit I would call more creative that I'm looking at as well. I think I could hopefully get off the ground to finance that through. And that's where we stand right now with both of those. I'm sure at some point in time that with the stadium, there'll be an opportunity to talk more about it. But like I said, what I don't want to do is I don't want to play the strategy in the public arena, because that really would be, I'll be as transparent as I can, but I'm not going to be so transparent that I shoot myself in the foot and put obstacles in my way.
Okay, in terms of Warren Farm,
I've really messed you up now. You're going, shoot.
Yeah, we're pretty much done. In terms of the public footpath, is that the final hurdle we need to overcome with Warren Farm?
Well, it's that plus the opportunity to appeal that. So let's say they come down and they say, no, there's no planning reason why we should grant a public footpath across this training ground. Fine, then it's okay. Do we wait now because that still could get called in. They could appeal it, could get called in by the Secretary of State.
How long is that appeal period?
Appeal period's 3 months, I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to the stadium, a question from QPR Report. Why will the stadium be owned by the shareholders and not QPR itself? If we can only build the stadium, no housing, will we?
I don't think that's ever been stated. I mean, in terms of the ownership, I think we'll go with the ownership structure that's the most tax efficient.
I think supporters might look at that and say, the owners own the stadium, we as a club don't own our home. If something happens down the line, we as a football club haven't got a stadium.
Quite a few clubs I've been with have a holding company set up as a property company, and then that holds the stadium because it's a tax efficient method of doing it. Like I said, we're well away from me examining that portion, and there's a few hurdles to come by. But I'll take. I think we need to take tax advice as much as anything else on what's the best way to set this thing up. I mean, am I worried about the owners who just converted 130 million pounds worth of debt into equity, about how they might mistakenly structure a deal and own the freehold? I'm not too worried about that.
Okay, just a final one on the stadium. You talk about it's a crucial period where the fans can help. I know there's a website. Go onto our website www.qpr.co.uk/new stadium, or you can email localplan@opdc.london.gov.uk. How important is that for the fans to get involved?
I think, again, it's very important. We need to make sure we keep ourselves in front of the decision makers. I don't want us to go away. I don't want them to forget about us, because, as I've said, we need this stadium to survive. There are a lot of issues that we face here. It's expensive to run. Brilliant atmosphere. That's the positive side. Nice and close to the pitch. You really feel like you're part of the action. But the downside is, 450 head capacity in terms of hospitality. These are the lounges. One of the things I said I wanted to do was a Player of the Year award at the end of the season. In any other club I've worked at, I would have never had a problem because I could just have it at the stadium. I can't do it here. So now I'm trying to find a venue, and it's looking to me like the best one we've come up with. Either they're too small and they only hold about 200 odd people, and which we never make work with the number of players and everybody else we need to get in, or they're looking at charging us 70, 75 quid a head, which means we've got to sell 450 tickets at 150 quid in order to break even. Now I want to do things like that. I don't want to lose money. Don't want to make money on Player of the Year awards. I'm not really concerned about that, but I certainly don't want to do things that actually cost the club money at a time when we're trying to cut every single expense we can to try and put it into what goes out on the pitch. So that it is important. Like I said, we need to keep out there, because for me, this is about. It's not just about. It's a nice thing to do, and wouldn't this be a great thing to happen under my watch? It's like I said. needed to survive. Club almost did go into administration once, was on the verge of administration when Mr. Briatore bought it. And what I don't think I want to rely on is continual ownership, continually writing out a check every month just to keep things ticking over. I think no matter how much money you have, people get bored of that after a while. And I saw what happened in Bolton. By the way, I am not suggesting for 1 minute that the owners are ready to pull the plug on anything. What I'm saying is I'm looking into the future and I'm thinking it's not healthy for a club to rely solely on someone writing a check out every month. I want this to be a sustainable club, and that's why I came here. I've worked at every other club I've been to, and that's my goal here as well.
Okay, I'll let you get your breath back before I ask about financial fair play.
Don't worry, that won't take long.
Jimmy, a question for you. What are your goals for next season?
To be as competitive as possible.
Suitably put. Director of Football, Les Ferdinand, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build a team that is competitive. We want to be in the top half of the table. We want to aim for promotion. But we have to be realistic about where we are. This season was about sustainability at the start, but we kept a few of the big hitters, and the viewpoint had to change. We had to try and get promoted. Hence why we changed managers, and Jimmy's come in. I think he's doing a good job. The team seems like it's heading in the right direction. We know there needs to be additions to what we got at the moment to be able to get there. But that's always the aim. That's always the aim for this club.
Okay, a question from Morris May. I'm just going to read out what's in front of me.
Read it out.
Has Les arranged a different promoter for pre-season so we can have a proper one?
Yeah, 1,000,000,000%. When I came into the club last year, that was already in process. The pre-season was already in process of being done, and in the past it had been done by the people that did it last year, and I think they've been successful. Last year we were let down by the promoters, and sometimes these things happen in football. It's not great because the one thing you want as a manager and as a team is for your pre-season to be right. It was a shambles last year, and we have to make sure that it doesn't happen again this year. We've already been out and done some recce's on different venues and different places that myself and Jimmy have spoken about in terms of where he wants to take the players.
Overseas?
Overseas, yeah, for 10 days or so. We've been out and done some, like I said, some recce's, and we think we'll find the venue. It's just about making sure we got the right games programs for that venue.
Jimmy, in terms of preparation for next season, how much importance do you place on pre-season?
Oh, that's the foundation. You know, that's where you start. Very important. Team bonding, everything. It's very important. It's a special time. You know, so we are trying hard to make sure that we get that right. You know, that's why we already started.
Okay. Will Les and Jimmy expand on the conversation with Tony Fernandez about player plans for next season? He came out recently and said that he'd had discussions with you about players that will be targeted in the summer, and QPR fans want to know what the conversation was about.
I think we have plans and we have targets. Obviously, we can't reveal who our targets are at this moment in time because they are just targets. We'll aim and do our best to get what's required, and if we can do that, then we'll have the team that we want. If he's gone out and he said we've had positive conversations, let's see if we have positive cash flow.
That's good.
Is it a case?
But it's the most normal thing, eh? That's the most normal thing. That is, every healthy club does that, and that has to keep on going. You know, you cannot stand still in that aspect.
We haven't been normal over the years.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think that dialogue's ever been there.
But Les has come in and try to get that normality, you know, and get that in place. And we are now trying, with Lee as well, trying to get that, because you have to be on top of that, to be competitive in that area. You have to have those dialogues quite often.
And ideally, football isn't ideal, I know. Would you like to get those signings you want at the start of the summer window?
I would have liked to have the squad ready, you know, day one of pre-season. But That's not going to happen. You know, but we are aiming to get that as near ready as possible. You know, that would be the perfect scenario to have it ready before we start.
Okay. Chris Kemp, fans often get frustrated seeing players staying in the team when they have continually underperformed on match days. How much emphasis is actually put on how players perform in training compared to how they perform in the games?
Well, look, yeah, players sometimes underperform, but you have to trust players as well. You know, you have to trust them, and some deserve a second chance. Some deserve more than a second chance. Some you have to take out straight away. You know, what I do know is if the player plays and gives me 100% and didn't perform that week, I'm more entitled, knowing myself, to give him another chance. You know, because he gives the team 100%. That's what I'm asking. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. You know, and that's just how it is. You know.
I think I can go back to my own career and answer that question. And you know, until Jerry came into this football club, I had a real tough time. You know, I got booed by the supporters out there. And if I wasn't given a second chance and maybe a third chance, maybe a fourth chance, I perhaps wouldn't have become the player that I did become. Because it is about, you know, no manager puts a team of players out there that he thinks he's going to lose him a game. Doesn't put any personnel on the pitch that he thinks he's going to lose him a game. He puts trust in that player. Whether that player underperforms or not, you can't legislate for it on a weekend because there's all different reasons why you don't play on a weekend. But unless you're given another opportunity and an opportunity after that, you know, you fall by the wayside.
Okay. Lee, you ready? What's the current state of play with regards to financial fair play?
No comment. Now, obviously, that is something that's been going on for a while. There is a non-disclosure agreement between us and the league in terms of discussion, and really can't say anything more about that than it. Could appreciate, people would love to see it draw to a close, but obviously everybody's on very, very new ground with something like this. You know, Bournemouth now been cited for it as well, but there's a lot of uncertainty out there about exactly how things will go. We're challenging the validity of the rules, so you know that's where we stand right now. So I'm afraid that's about all I can. Can't really spell out the legal arguments at this point in time. So it's just one that will keep marching on.
There's no idea of when it will be concluded.
Not yet, no.
Okay. Going forward, is there an aim, dream, hope to break even anytime soon? How realistic is that? Not specifically to QPR, it's a football issue.
That's the goal, to make sure we're sustainable. You know, either when I took the job, the interview did not consist of, all right, Lee, I want you to go out there, and what we have in mind is you make sure you get everything you can out of the supporters and everything you can squeeze out, because we as owners want to declare this massive dividend at the end of that. They don't. That's not the end game. What they want, though, is to make sure that the club can support itself. So that, I think that's critical for the club. It's probably more like a charity. If you can break even, you're in decent shape. And football is the only business I know where chief executives aren't talking about adding shareholder value. It's like, never mind how we make money. It's how do we cut our losses and try and break even. If you would have mentioned at the beginning of the year, if we started with something like financial fair play guidelines, which, as I said, we are contesting, so I'm not in any way, shape, or form conceding the validity of these rules to whichever lawyer may pick this up. I would have said, if somebody said, you think you would be in compliance with these rules in which you were contesting the validity of, and I would have said, fat chance of that happening. However, I'm pleased to say I think we'll do it. The guys done a great job in terms of getting what we can for the players, moving players on. Finance team has done what they need to do to make things happen. We've cut some expenses where we are, so we are definitely moving in the right direction.
Okay, with regards to season tickets, obviously the loyalty windows changed from the end of this month until the 15th of April.
I mean the early bird window.
The early bird, apologies. Now that that's been
I can't get my own guys to use the
announced.
terminology, man.
That's cost cutting. You've ended up with me. This is from Andy Pike. Having now announced an extension to the guaranteed renewal date and deferral of full payment until June, are the club proposing to compensate those of us who paid the original amount and paid in full?
If we go back to that, we've had a discussion with the supporters consultation committee members, the fan sites, just in terms of how we're doing it. The reason this is done is I need to look, not this just next season, I need to look 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons down the road. Now, right now, the single biggest source of revenue that we have is parachute payment. It blows everything else away. Second biggest is ticketing. And I will be open about this because I know I'm not breaching any confidentiality agreements with anybody. We'll get about $5.5 million from ticketing, and that's our second biggest source of revenue. Now, these guys will do everything they can to be competitive, and that as a result of that, the idea is maybe we take the club forward. We're in a different league where actually Sky and Central Broadcasting deals are the biggest source of revenue. But I need to plan for worst case scenarios. I need to plan like, right, what does this club look like after next year when the parachute payment goes, what does it look like in 2 years from now when the parachute payments disappear? Because it's a hell of a lot easier to shift gears upwards when you're planning on doing this, to go, yay, we got this, as opposed to think, yeah, but we'll get this, and then go, oh, by the way, we actually have to settle for this. That's not going to go down very well for people listening on video, is it? I'm not going to be able to see that or that. I had my hand up high, and then it went down middle, and
That's
then
all
it went
right.
down
We've got the score.
All right. So that's what I need to prepare for. So with that background, that's why I'm looking at this year. It wasn't as important this year to get season tickets out early, but next year it will be, because so this year is the transition year. All right, because we need to know when we talk to Jimmy, we have these meetings like we had last week and the week before about players, some idea of what his budget's going to be. And I would rather, we need a degree of certainty with that. So hence why we have an end of March deadline, so we can say, right, come April 1st, I know exactly what the revenue stream is going to be coming in from season ticket holders. I know exactly what we're going to have for a kitty for the summer. I can say with a reasonable degree of certainty how many people are on a direct debit scheme, what's coming in, and then I can guesstimate what we're going to do on a match by match. So that's the reason for doing it. The reason we extended it is because it's a transition year and people are struggling a little bit with it. Tried to announce it early enough in December that we could get to grips with it, but next year we go back to what we originally planned this year, which was ending on the 31st of March. The reason we did extend it is an affordability issue. If people are struggling and they can't afford it, then okay, let's see what we can do to work with people to help get us through this transition. But then to compensate is kind of adding extra costs to the club, where I'm trying to eliminate costs to the club. Like I said, I'm not doing this to pay a dividend. Everything I do in terms of trying to avoid unnecessary costs is about what we can put on the pitch. Because while we all talk about sustainability, and people say, yeah, you're saying the right things, I've yet to be in any football club where you've put the balance sheet up on the big screen and the fans are going, look at that profit. Well, Ruben might. He probably does a Mexican wave when he sees the profit and loss statement. But the fans just care about what goes on in the pitch. So as far as I'm concerned, anything I can save to give to these guys to put on the pitch, that's what we need to do. So compensation is kind of like, guys, we're all on the same team. We all want the same results. Let's get rid of this. I want compensation for this, compensation for that. We are, however, going to do a reward. Okay, that's a bit different than compensation. It's about, look, if you've done you've made the commitment, we are developing a reward scheme, not to be confused with the loyalty scheme, but a reward scheme where, based on purchases, we'll come up with a system where you can redeem it at the shop at some point in the future. Probably even look at redeeming it against ticket prices, but Ewan is working on that, and anybody who saw the program notes will know that's a work in progress. We're trying to get that launched by next season. So yes, there'll be extra reward points on that for people to use as they want when we roll that out. But the biggest thing I want to remember is, and which is why we have this long-winded explanation, is I'm trying to avoid extra costs. The reason this was extended is we also recognize from an administration standpoint, if we're going to give people the chance to pay interest-free, we can't do it on the website, which means the ticket office has to handle everything. I'm begging you guys, please don't wait until April the 14th to renew your season ticket, because otherwise we're going to have to man up to the hill. You're going to be ticked off because, this club can't do anything right. We don't have enough people in the ticket office, because there's so many things you can do. If you can do it now, the sooner you can do it, the better, and the smoother it'll go, and the happier everybody will be. Please.
Okay, great. What we're going to do now is open the for questions from the floor. We've covered playing personnel, the new stadium, season tickets, targets for next season, and financial fair play. If you have got a question, just raise your hand and Ian will pass over. We'll just wait for the microphone for those listening on the stream. That'd be great.
Optimist. It's not impossible for us to hit the playoffs, is it really? If we get a win at Preston North End, we could be 6 points behind with 8 games to go. Would you take it if the opportunity was there, and would you want it?
Is that for me? Mm-hmm. I will take every win and every promotion whenever. That's why we are in the game, to play at the highest level. So if we can get 3 points, what we really gonna try to do at Preston, I'll take it. And I take the others that come in other matches as well. Of course.
Great. Okay, next question.
This question's for mainly Lee. Last week, the Premier League announced a cap on away tickets. Do you reckon there's any chance of the Football League agreeing to anything like that for the away fans?
Probably not. It's weirdly, the Premier League can afford to do it. The higher you go in the Premier League, the less as a percentage of income the ticketing sales is. But then the further you go down, the more important that revenue actually is. So the Premier League can actually quite easily afford to supplement that with through the broadcasting rights. In fact, there's a I'm sure you probably know this already, but they do have a fund that every club is required to spend X amount of pounds on away fan initiatives. My idea, I like the idea of capping season ticket price. If you're a season ticket holder, 20 is plenty, I think, for an away game. I think, and that would be my idea if we were ever fortunate enough to get back into the Premier League. Say, I'd be spending that on, any fan who travels away. That would be one of the things I'd be doing. Rather than free coaches, I think everybody should share in that. You should just cap it and supplement the additional price of tickets. But as I say, that's a Premier League dream right now. But Football League, too important a revenue stream, so probably not.
Okay, next question. Thanks.
Hi, John O'Mahony, Kick Up the Arse magazine. Like to take the opportunity on behalf of the magazine to welcome Jimmy to the club and wish him all the best. And thank Les for the great interview he did with Joanne from the magazine. It was really appreciated, Les. Really candid, really went down well, really well received.
Good.
One of the things we're involved with, as Ian would know, and Andy. We've been doing some things for Stan Bowles, and we're bringing out the magazine Kick Up the Arse special fundraising edition, totally dedicated to Stan. We've got a lot of people on board already: Gordon Jago, Jerry Francis, Robert Elms, and that. I think the club have been doing really well this season, getting players out on the pitch at half-time. I think it's been great. Really good to see that. Really pleased with how the club responded to Alan Barnes. I think fantastic. He's, one of our greatest supporters, Alan, and it was so pleasing to see the way the club responded. I know you've been to see him, Les. Yes. Jimmy sent messages. Andy Sinton, brilliant. Yeah. So one of the things that we mentioned and had discussions with Ian and Andy is about the Ex-Players Association. Also mentioned it to Lee. I know Joanne mentioned it to you in the interview, Les. Yeah. I just wondered, I know that preliminary discussions have taken place. I wonder how far down the line the club are. Has any progress been made on it?
Lee, do you want to take that?
Andy, you want to take that?
Andy Sinton's behind it. Andy, no, where is he? Andy Evans, sorry.
And then Evans, yeah.
Right, Andy Evans, the CEO of QPR and the Community Trust.
The man, yeah.
Going to take that question.
Thanks, Lee.
Told you not to come.
Yeah, I mean, we have done some exploratory research into the Ex-Players Association. We've had some discussions with Charlton Athletic, for example, and also with Simon Milton, who runs a similar scheme at Ipswich Town. And I think what we got to was that, you know, the conversations we've had internally as well is we don't believe that an Ex-Players Association should be a fund-giving, grant-giving organisation that would fund, for example, a player that has fallen on hard times, because we find it would be extremely difficult to manage something like that. And if you think how many ex-players have gone through the club, you know, if they all wanted help at some point, we probably wouldn't be able to finance that. So we've decided that we will make the steps to, you know, build on what we've done on match days, which I think, you know, you've just been recognised there is a lot better than it has been. So myself, Ian, Lee, along with Andy Sinton as well, we're going to continue to explore the Ex-Players Association. We would like to formalise it, hopefully looking to launch it next season. But as I say, you know, beyond that, there's not much else we can really share with you at this moment. Just to say that, you know, as a club, we completely value everyone's commitment to QPR over the years. And we'd like to see as many of those ex-players coming back regularly on a match day, which I think we've managed to achieve in the last few years. And we just want to build on that bit by bit. I mean, Simon Milton's advice at Ipswich was, you know, take one step at a time. Start off small, maybe do one event, and then build it from there. So that's going to be our intention going forward.
Great stuff. Thanks, Andy. Didn't expect that, did you?
No, thanks.
Thanks very much, Andy Evans. Okay, any more questions? If you just raise your hands, we've got a question just at the back. While we're waiting for the microphone to get back there, Jimmy, the game on Saturday against Brentford, a very well-timed win in a derby 3 days before a fans forum. What did you make of the atmosphere at Loftus Road for that game?
Very good. It's so important. It's so important for the players that the atmosphere, you know, is like that. It gives them an extra, you know, boost. Us all, the 12th man, you know, we need to make Loftus Road a horrible place to come for the away teams. You know, I like that. I like that atmosphere. You know, that we make it a bad place for the opposition. You know, and that the players feel that as well. That they have the fans really backing them. A bad pass or whatever, that still they're cheering for them. You know, it just helps. And I think on Saturday we had that kind of atmosphere. You know, I think we played better on Tuesday. But the atmosphere and the application and the commitment of the players was second to none. You know, we were more fluent on Tuesday, but it might be that it was our third game in the week, and for Brentford it was just their second game. You know, they had no midweek game. So, but we done really well, and the atmosphere helped it, and the supporters helped them. So we need to keep that going. You know.
Great stuff. Okay, next question, please.
I was just wondering about the progress of the new badge and when that will come in.
Okay, question for Lee. The new badge.
New badge is coming along well. Pleased with it. We've taken it out to a lettering expert. We've incorporated everything that I think people wanted to see, and we're on the schedule to do it for next year. But we will launch it before the end of this season, so that everybody has a chance to see it and before it's applied.
Okay.
Les, just to change direction, can we have the Player of the Year dinner back?
I think Lee,
that's what I was actually working on.
That was Lee.
By the way, if anybody has any suggestions, because I know we scoured some of the things, I put this out to the fans groups if they've got any suggestions. But if anybody in this room has a suggestion on a venue, that's been the hardest thing, because the only ones we come up with, as I say, they're charging. We'd have to charge like £149. And the feedback I've got from the people I've consulted with is $149 is way too expensive. $149 we have to sell 450 tickets as well in order just to break even. So it's venues. Someone suggested Bush Hall, but again, they were really expensive as well. So if you got a mate who has a decent sized place and you give us a good deal that's near here, I'm willing to look at it.
Okay, thanks very much. Just if there are any more questions, just raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone over. We've got another question over there. A question from Ronnie on Twitter. To what extent, this is to Les, to what extent do the club use data analytics regarding player recruitment?
One of the things we've done since I've been here is we had a match analyst who, Andy Belk, who was head of the match analyst. We've taken him out of that position, and he works purely on analysing the players that we're looking at to try and bring into the club. Every day I get tons of letters and emails about players around Europe that we need to go and look at. So he analyses them first, and once we've analysed them, Jimmy's had a look as well. We deem whether they're worth going to have a look at, and if they are, we send the scouts out. They have a look. If they like, we go and have a look ourselves, and if we like, we see how we can move that forward. But it's the first time in the club's history that we've had that position in place, and I think it's working well, and it will help us to progress in the way that we want to.
Great stuff. Okay, next question, please.
I just wanted to ask about the play football pitches that have opened just around the corner, and 3 are free for local community use. Yep. And does the club have any plans to work with play football to increase community use?
Yes, we're in active discussions with them right now. So we very shortly we should be in a position to announce what we're planning to do.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Just raise your hands and we'll bring the microphone straight over. Great.
Hello, Bill Cox, LSA. Two questions really. One a bit serious and one a bit fun. The first question, the serious one, is I can't remember the last time that our team has bossed the referee. The referee, every other club seems to boss our referee. The boss of whichever the rest, and they make the decisions. It seems like the other team is making the decisions rather than us. Are we going to get someone in sooner or later who will square it up and say, look, steady up, no ref, whatever the word is, calm down, and make decisions which are a bit more favourable? That's one. And the second question...
That was a serious one?
Steady up. And the second question is, how many of our current players have got superstitions, and can you grasp them up?
Okay, we'll start with the first question. Can we apply more pressure to the referee?
That's a very delicate situation.
Yes.
No, a very delicate situation that we have to watch out with. And nowadays it is very difficult. Also what you do, what you say. It is not how it used to be. And let's not forget. I have got a big respect for the referees. They are in a really difficult situation. Now, don't ask me this on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. but sitting here now, calm, they have got a difficult job to do. And we have to respect that, and we have to conduct ourselves really well. We have to. That's just how it is. That's how we will score more brandy points, and eventually we will win more points. Believe you me, we will win more points. If you're always in their face, they will remember. They will remember. Fact. Now, coming back to your second question, I don't grass up my players.
No superstitions. Daddy superstition.
I don't know.
Okay, if we've got any more questions, raise your hands. We've just gone past 8 o'clock, so if there are any more questions, just raise your hands. Okay, we've got one there.
Good evening, Les, Jimmy, Lee. First time I've met you. My name's Joe Hilton. I sit in the upper loft, season ticket holder, LSA member. It's about a situation that happened well before you came to the club, Lee. 19 years ago this month, we had an incident with Portsmouth. We played Portsmouth here, and there was a lot of trouble at the back of the R block, and the club decided to fence off basically about 200 seats for the remainder of the season and also into the next season. We asked your predecessors when we met with them the LSA, if the tarpaulin could be removed, because it just seemed like Queen's Park Rangers were punishing Queen's Park Rangers and Queen's Park Rangers fans. The incident happened, it finished, Portsmouth went home, but we had to bear the brunt for the next 8 months into the next season. You took away the tarpaulin and the seats were resold. And as you know, that's the main singing area for Loftus Road. But at the same time when the tarpaulin was put down, there was a horrible metal fence put up that separates the Q block from the R block. Now, I don't sit over there at all, but I know people that do sit over there. It's been there for 19 years. If you stand in the Q block, it's not the best view. The ticket price reflects that. Can that horrible metal fence be taken down because it separates QPR fans from QPR fans? And if you look at the mirror side of the upper loft that joins with the South Africa Road, there's no metal fence there.
Yeah, the answer is, it's the first time anybody's ever brought it up, so I'll look at it. I'd have to go to the licensing authority.
We did bring it up in 2003 with David Davis, and he said, yes, we'll move it. And also in 2009 with Amit Bhatia. But it's still there 19 years later.
Well, I guess the other thing I can't figure out is Portsmouth, the away fans would have been down there, right?
Yeah, but there was an infiltration. It happens, and it's not.
The other thing I can do is look at it and say, why is this fence here, and go to the licensing authority and say, is it really necessary to be here? How would this affect our safety certificate? And then if they say, it doesn't, it doesn't, then I'll say, well, then let's take it down.
If you look at this side of the stadium, Lee, with where South Africa joins the upper loft, there's never been a fence there.
I mean, what you're saying to me sounds like it could be done. But I don't want to say, yeah, I'll take care of it. Then someone turns around and says you can't.
If you're in the R block, it doesn't affect the R block. It just affects the Q block. They're the ones that are looking through it. And it's just a horrible fence.
Just leave it with me. Let me see what I can do.
That's what David Davis said, and that's what Amit said.
Well, if something, let's put it this way: if something can't be done, then I will give you the courtesy of letting you know I couldn't do it, and here's why I couldn't do it. I won't just let it ride.
Somebody can do it. It's Lee.
Okay, unless there are any further questions, we'll pretty much wrap up there. Unless there are any questions, Vic, and if we just bring the bucket down for the raffle as well, thanks.
Very quick. This is from basically the local establishments, the pubs and all that. Quite a few of them have asked the same question time and time again. Why can't the away ticket holders from the other clubs be given a different colour ticket to us? Because you get them walking into the corners with their tickets. They try and get in the pubs local, which are basically for home fans, and it's never been changed. I can't see why there's a problem of changing the tickets for away fans.
Me either. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Any final questions? That's a good one. Okay, what we'll do now, we'll just do the raffle. We will start with the signed QPR shirt. So Les, if you want to draw out a name from there, please. It's for a signed QPR shirt.
You ready? Mr. Simon Dorset.
Simon Dorset right at the front.
I need glasses, by the way.
There you go. Okay. And Jimmy, this is for the £100 Superstore voucher.
Ooh, £100.
Lee Hoos.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink. Mrs. Angela Brown.
Angela Brown. Did you want to come up and get it, or shall I pass it back? Do you want to come up? Do you want to present?
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Well done.
Okay, I think that's about it in terms of questions. Thanks very much for coming along this evening.
One other thing.
Question?
No, it's not a question. just as a thanks very much for everyone coming out to review. But we do have, as a token of appreciation and for coming out this evening, a home shirt for everyone on the way out if they would like to get one. So thanks again.
Okay, and Andy Sinton will present you with that shirt as you leave. Okay, just a reminder that the bar is now reopened. It just remains to thank Lee Hoos, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink and Les Ferdinand.